Hello, welcome. Thank you for spending your evening with Pottery Northwest. I'm Executive Director James Love. Tonight we're celebrating the artists, the staff, the students, volunteers, and patrons who make up the community that you are a part of. Our presentation is going to be focused on our 2019 Wally Grant recipients, and we're also going to announce the 2020 grant winners. I'm here with Chanda Z, our Programs Director, and she's going to kick things off with a land acknowledgement. Chanda?
Thank you, James, and thank you all for being here. We at Pottery Northwest acknowledge that we live, work, and play on the unceded and traditional territories of the Coast Salish peoples, and that we occupy this land. This acknowledgement does not take the place of authentic relationships with Indigenous communities, but serves as a first step in honoring the land we occupy and resisting the erasure of Indigenous past, present, and future.
Thanks, Chanda. As we get started, I want to take a moment to remind you all of the organization that you're supporting tonight. Pottery Northwest has been part of Seattle's cultural fabric since 1966. We were founded with an educational mission, and because of that, it's always been important for us to support the career of artists. Our community classes are one of our biggest programs. We teach ceramics classes to a wide range of topics and a wide range of ability levels. You should know that we provide financial assistance to a little over 10% of our students. And we've been able to continue to do that even through the pandemic, through the development of our online classes and our monthly studio access program. Many of these classes are taught by our resident artists. The Resident Artist Program, this is a 2-year program, and ceramic artists come from all over the globe to work with us. In addition to these teaching opportunities, we also provide a dedicated studio space free of charge. We have exhibition opportunities. We have a $750 annual firing and material stipend and a $2,400 cash stipend through the Fund for Innovation, Research, and Experimentation, otherwise known as the FIRE Fund. All of our resident artists are also eligible to apply for project funding through our Wally Grant. How can we do all of this? Well, that's through support from people like you. And as tonight's focus is the Wally Grant, Chanda is going to provide us with a little bit of background.
In 2010, our previous executive director, Wally Bivens, pulled together the funding to offer an in-house grant for our resident artists. In his words, the primary purpose of this grant is to stimulate the studio environment and enable adventurous work that pushes boundaries and provides an opportunity for new directions, provides a means of taking your current work further. When Wally stepped down from his position in 2015, the Pottery Northwest Board opted to honor him by naming this the Wally Bivens Resident Artist Project Grant, or simply the Wally Grant. Tonight we will hear from our 2019 grant recipients and learn what they were able to accomplish with their funding, followed by an announcement of the 2020 grant winners. To speak to the impact that this grant can have, I would like to introduce 2011 grant recipient, George Rodriguez.
Hi everybody, my name is George Rodriguez. If you know Wally, you know that he is a compassionate leader and he's a mentor, he's an amazing artist, and he's a friend. So one of the things about Wally that I realized while I was a resident is that he really supported artists and he supported creatives. And through the creation of this grant, he gave those resident artists an opportunity to just follow their ideas. So when I received this grant, I really utilized it to just buy a bunch of clay. I wanted to be able to build larger sculpture, and I needed material to do so. So I, had bricks and bricks and blocks of clay, and it's really just what was the most useful for me at that time. And I would say that at that point in my career, this grant allowed me to just have a career. So sometimes what artists need the most is just time and money, and they don't usually come in a pair. So a grant like this was super beneficial. This grant was a springboard for my first solo show in Seattle, which was at Foster White Gallery. It also set the foundation for my exit show from Pottery Northwest, titled End of the Trail. And it also just gave me validation for the sculptures that I was making. Validation from the director, but also just like the community at large. And sometimes that support is the most meaningful. So, you know, like being an artist is not a solo job. It takes a lot of people, and it takes the support from communities like Pottery Northwest, and it takes the forward thinking of directors like Wally Bivens and James Lobb. And I think most importantly, it takes the support of the community and your fellow artists. So I'm so grateful for being a recipient of this grant and all the opportunities that it afforded me. And I'm very excited to see what the new batch of residents do with their Wally.
And now I'd like to introduce Ling Chun. Ling is an international artist originally from Hong Kong. She began her residency at Pottery Northwest in October of 2018, and she's going to be wrapping up her stay with us in just a few short weeks. She makes really exciting to do. Here she is. Ling?
Hi everyone, welcome to this watch party. My name is Ling Chun, and I'm a second year's residence artist at Pottery Northwest. And I'm also actually working towards to the end of my 2-year residency at Pottery Northwest. So I want to taking this opportunity to thanks for all members of Pottery Northwest have helped me throughout these 2 years and all the supports that I received, especially to all the staff as well as James and board members. I got to say, in 2020, we had a rough year. In the bright side, watch party like this allowing us to be more accessibility in the arts world for many more to connect and understanding the missions of our organizations. Again, my name is Ling Chun. I am an international artist from Hong Kong, and I'm also a first generation of Asian immigrants from Hong Kong in US. The use of the Wally Grant given me the chance of working with different media, including monoprint and neon light. In the next 7 minutes, I would like to share with you all a video presentation of my recent solo exhibition, and I'll explain a bit more about the work I made in this exhibition with the support of Wally Grant. This video is a walkthrough of my solo exhibition called ''S''. It is an exhibition to capture my memories of home Hong Kong. In the same time, taking my experience as an immigrant in US to explore the ideas of belonging. In the political content, my hometown Hong Kong has rapidly changed in the course of 15 months. The last time I was home, it was 3 years ago. In this show, I want to capture those glimpses of memories of Hong Kong and its vivid neon lights reflecting the energy of the city, and the clicking noise of the traffic light remind pedestrians the order within chaos that I lived in. In the show, I've incorporated lots of neon lights. This electrified color that you see is an excited reaction from a noble guest with a small tube of glass gaining energy through thousands of volts. In the same time, neon light is also a disappearing culture in Hong Kong since the invention of LED light. By making the series of neon light sculpture, I took my role as a ceramics artist to preserve this form of art and culture that I loved. I loved Hong Kong and loved the home that no longer the same, and this is the capture of the memories of home. With the portion of the grant, I finally able to take my very first printmaking classes at Pratt Fine Arts Center, and I found fascinations in the process of monoprint. The process simply taking a direct mark making of actions on a plate of plexiglass and then transferred on a paper through a press. The image then transferred into a paper are called ghost print. Taking the same plate, go through the press for multiple times, the result of the image will be less vibrant to the one before. This concept of fading inevitably emerged with the ideas of memory. How memory can create false images even with emotion, and how authenticity of each memory to each person could be when imagination took place over time, overlapping one another just like my print. I also taking a big portion of the grant, taking a class at Western Neon School of Arts, learning how to draw with light. By bending the glass tube, which have so much to do with understanding your own body movement and how this one form of stroke can determine by the action. When the glass is softened, it's an action of spontaneous that one must act fast to capture the movement before it fell into a formless strokes. When it comes to my work, the reaction of color we all seen in neon lights, it's the noble guest being excited when 1,000 volts went through each atoms. It's like glaze with hits. It turns into a magic of movement. Here's the result after 6 months of knowing neon lights and the relationship I've built with this material with my beloved ceramics. The next installation work I built is my memory of home and the memory of learning Chinese calligraphy when I was in my young age. Within each Chinese characters, there are a composition of strokes. When I learned about calligraphy, we study each character with the guiding of grips, how each stroke have its own mind and place to create an overall harmony within one character. And the top you're looking at is simplified Chinese, and the bottom is traditional Chinese within the same word. You will see that a lot of strokes are missing in the simplified Chinese. Traditional Chinese has been slowly replaced to simplified Chinese in Hong Kong. There goes the culture I remember slowly turned into memory. I searched for the new way to understanding the stroke of simplified Chinese. By making this series of work allow me to seek for new harmony with unfamiliarity. And each of the form that's sticking out from the surface are a stroke from a character that being decomposed. And combining the imagery of city light and sign in Hong Kong to recreate this new memories into structure of installation. Thank you everyone for watching my presentations. I'd like to thanks again for Pottery Northwest for the years of support, and I would love to have you all to consider donating to us at giftbutter.com/clayslipsong. With the holiday season coming up soon, I would highly encourage everyone to support small business and local artists by shopping at their online store. And that's it for me. Thanks again very much for joining this watch party.
We have Anyuta Gusakova, who began her residency at Pottery Northwest in September of 2018. It is an honor to give a virtual introduction to Anyuta Gusakova.
Hi everyone, Anyuta Gusakova here. I was a resident at Pottery Northwest for a year and a half before COVID started, and I was a recipient of Wally Grant. I got $1,000 to realize my resin casting project, and here you can see the end result, but I'll show you all the steps that I had to go through to make it. So first I had to get an necessary equipment, and one part of it was a vacuum chamber with a pump that would suck the air out and degas the silicone, what is it? It's a silicone rubber. Yeah, so silicone rubber to make a mold. And they got it for $300 on Amazon. And then I had to buy a pressure pot. And this I needed to eliminate bubbles from the actual resin casting. And I got it for $290 on Amazon, and I customized that for $150 because it had to be turned from a painting pressure pot to degassing pressure pot. So some changes were made to it. And then I had to get a material. So for molds, I got clear silicone rubber. You can see the example here. So I got 2 pounds of it. And then I had to buy the actual material, the resin, the casting resin, which I got the clear one, so I could add colorants, like tints, like some effects, like glitters, to make any color or effect I want. So here I am making a mold. So first I had to make an actual model, like actual sculpture, which I then used plasticine to create like a bed for it. And then in the end, I would mix the silicone rubber, degas it in the vacuum chamber, and pour it on top of that plasticine bed. Okay, so here is a casting process. So for that, I mixed 2-part resin. It's very liquid, and they added some color to it. And then I'm pouring it into that rubber mold, which I just put together. There are 2 parts, so I put it together with packing tape. Here is a demolding process. So yeah, when I made that, let's see if I can. So when I mixed it and pour it into the mold, I would stick that mold in a pressure pot and use my compressor to pump the air in. And it sits there for 24 hours and eliminates bubbles. So here is a demolding process. So I take it out of the pressure pot, the mold, and then it's all hard and cured, and then I can take it out. And see here, I got some green dyes and some little gold sparkles, gold. Yeah, so, and some gold glitter. Here's another couple of flowers. This is a mold for the cloud block for the Pegasus sculpture. And I did like few castings and tried different dyes. So this one was supposed to be blue, but turned out green. I guess the resin has a little yellowish tint, so, but it still looks nice. And I like the translucency of the material. Here's another try with the blue dye. Here's a cast of the Pegasus horse piece itself. This one is just examples of different dyes and different mica powders I use to make different color resins. So like this one. And that is actually like a finished piece. So I cast each part of it separately and then assembled it with epoxy glue. And so sorry, internet problems. So all parts of it are resin cast except of this, the mane and tail are glass beads, which I got at the bead store. And another example of using that resin is in combination with ceramic materials, like these 2 deer skull sculptures, slip cast porcelain, and then on the antlers you can see I added little resin flowers. So I really love the combination. So I think it's has a good potential. Very beautiful. Yeah, and this is just another example of this porcelain slip cast sculpture with those resin flowers on it. So very pretty. So I think I will be combining ceramics and resin a lot because they're very different and they still work beautifully together. And thank you very much, Pottery Northwest, for this Wally grant and for the opportunity to try a new material. And you can see I took this sculpture, the Pegasus and the deer skulls, to my first show in Calgary in Alberta in October, and they had a great success. So thank you very much. Bye.
Now I would like to introduce Jake Brodsky. Jake joined Pottery Northwest in January of 2019 and completed his residency just 2 short weeks ago, heading back to Montana to begin the next phase of his clay journey.
Hi everyone, my name is Jake Brodsky, and I'm going to share a little bit about the research I did this year through receiving the Wally Grant. I have spent the last year studying ceramic materials and using local materials in my creative process, and I wanted to share an image of these 2 historical pots that are very different in appearance, but to me they both really share sort of a truth of material. Until recently, clay wasn't a material that was shipped anywhere, so historical pots were made with the materials that were available to the people in that area. And so you got a lot of variation among styles around the world, and I find that these pots are both really true to the materials that the people had available to them, and that's really beautiful to me. If you've never been in a glaze lab, this is what most of them look like. These are ceramic materials. These are the materials that make up our clay and glaze. And it's a bit overwhelming. There's a lot of things, a lot of buckets and bags of clay. It brings up a lot of questions, like what is all this stuff and where does it come from and what is it doing and is it doing what we want it to? So I wanted to answer some of these questions, and I turned to Ceramic Materials Workshop, which is an online platform that offers clay and glaze chemistry classes. I took 2 classes with them this year on the chemistry and composition of clay bodies and glazes, and I learned a ton. They really have a great way of helping people ask themselves questions about their work on a big picture and small picture scale. This is sort of the small scale of things. This is a SEM image of fired porcelain, and I find it's really fascinating to look at what's happening to our materials when we're taking them up to high temperatures on a scale that we can't see, but ceramic engineers have fancy equipment. And the big picture looks a lot different. This is the big picture of ceramic materials, which is an open pit mine, which is where most of our materials come from for our clays and glazes. And this is, it's hard to see this image and not want to do something different. So once I realized where most of our materials were coming from, it made me want to utilize more of local materials. I found that would connect my work more to the place that I'm from. So I started looking into local clay and how clay is made. You don't have to pay too much attention to this formula, but this is the process by which most clay is made, which is you take feldspathic rocks and weather them and you get clay. And that usually happens in sort of a downstream fashion where the farther downstream you get, the more clay deposits you'll find. And so you'll find a lot of clay in older mountains because there's been more time, more weathering, more time. And the Cascades are not new, or they're not old, I'm sorry, they're not old mountains, they're new mountains. But the thing that Washington does have going for it is that there's a lot of rain, and so there's a lot of weathering that happens from the rain. And I found there was actually a lot more clay than I expected in this area. So I enlisted the help of a lot of nerdy geology info. I found this helpful document online from 80 years ago and got some roadside geology books and started looking around last winter for clay. So in March, I went out and dug clay in a few places. This image came from the Olympic Peninsula, and I looked around in the Snoqualmie River Valley area and got some clay from the coastal mountains in Oregon. And found some really exciting things. I found a lot of clay, and I was really excited to start testing it. And then coronavirus happened, of course, and everything shut down for a few months. So I put that on hold. And when I got back into the studio in the summer, I dove into testing all this stuff. I really wanted to find some results that I was happy with, because as much as I like learning about all this stuff, I really love making pots. I wanted to be able to learn how to use the clay in order to make pots. So this was my first kiln load back at Pottery Northwest, testing a bunch of clay that I dug as slips and in some clay bodies that I made. You can see all these colors of slips. I really like how it sort of mimics all the colors that you find in the clay that I dug, all the reds and oranges and yellows. And I was really happy with the results from this first firing. This is the fired kiln load. Those pots on the right, that bowl and base, I was really happy with the richness, all the variation in color and the depth, and had to do some fine tuning that I'll talk about in a bit, but was really excited to make more work. This is a vase a big jar that I made during that time. The whole outer surface comes from a slip that I dug, all the color and texture. This was a bowl that initially I was really happy with. You can see there's sort of chunks in it, which are chunks of unmelted clay, rocks, and I really like that texture. But I soon found that all of those holes, the chunks of clay, made this pot susceptible to cracking and leaking water, and I didn't want that for functional work. And so I realized I had to process the clay a bit more than I had wanted to. I had to take out all the rocks and chunks. And I came up with this clay body, which I've been using a lot the last few months, and I'm really happy with it. It's made up of a combination of a couple different West Coast fire clays from California. I wanted to try to use as many local or relatively local materials as possible, and then some clay that I dug. And I love the color I got from it. It's sort of a self-glazing clay body around cone 10. And so I made a lot of work with this clay body. A lot of it ended up in my exit show that's online at Pottery Northwest right now, because I just finished my residency, sadly. And sort of the last thing that I was pursuing was these ceramic paintings that were made partially with local clay as well. I wanted to try to capture some of the surface on a bigger scale for viewing. And so these are thick slabs of clay that are hung on a wall. They're 20 inches long. They're up in the gallery right now at Pottery Northwest. And I'm really excited about the potential for these and for all of this work. I feel like researching ceramic materials is sort of a lifelong pursuit, and there's always more to find out. And I'm just at the tip of the iceberg right now. So I gotta give a lot of thanks. I have a lot of gratitude to Pottery Northwest for giving me the time and resources to pursue this research, because it really fulfilled me in the last year. I really, really appreciate it. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. And I hope you're all staying safe. Bye.
I would like to introduce Soe Yu Nwe. Soe Yu was a resident at Pottery Northwest from August 2017 until January of 2020. Everyone, Soe Yu.
Hello everyone, my name is Soe Yu Nwe. I'm an artist from Myanmar. I was a Wally Grant Recipient in 2019, and in today's presentation, I would like to share with you how Wally Grant has helped my career as an international artist. I graduated from Rhode Island School of Design in 2015. Since then, I've been doing residencies all over the US and Asia. I have exhibited in 13 different countries and also had residencies in 3 countries. Because of the international reach of my career, I was honored as Forbes 30 and the 30 Art and Style in 2019. This is my first solo exhibition in Myanmar in 2017. The show is made up of work that has been shipped back from the US. Some were work from grad school in 2015, and the rest were new work made during a residency at Cal State Long Beach. This is also the first show in Myanmar contemporary art scene that is made up of mainly ceramic sculptures and also ceramic installation. Part of this exhibition has also been shown in Dhaka Art Summit in 2018, my first exhibition in Bangladesh. The same year after my first solo exhibition in Myanmar, I also had the honor of exhibiting in APT9, Asia Pacific Triennale of Contemporary Art by Queensland Art Gallery, Gallery of Modern Art. It was a very huge honor for me because my work was displayed at the entrance foyer space, which is 50 feet long. The museum also subsequently acquired one of my sculpture into their permanent collection. I was also the youngest artist from Myanmar they have included in Asia Pacific Triennale series. In 2018, I had a second solo exhibition in Myanmar. This time I brought back one piece in my luggage, which is a glass and ceramic assemblage mixed media work. I believe also this is the first time glass and ceramic mixed media sculpture installation is shown in Myanmar. This year, because of COVID pandemic, I couldn't participate in residencies abroad, and I do not have ceramic facility at home. So for the show in Singapore, I created many mixed media drawings. Another show that I was part of this year is this museum exhibition in Italy curated by Abidjan Toto. The show was very interesting to me to be part of because it looks at the concept of Zomia, which is mass areas of land spread across Southeast Asia that are historically beyond the control of government. In Myanmar, it includes some part of Shan State, which my mom was originally from. So it gives my work a very interesting context. As you can see, my career is rather international because Myanmar itself doesn't have a very big art scene and a lot of interesting shows actually happens abroad. The issue with my work, as you all know, is the material. Ceramic itself is very fragile, difficult to ship, difficult to pack, and because of the way I build and think, I tend to push the aesthetics of it even more. This piece is an example. I made this piece in 2016 at Cal State Long Beach. I put a month or two of work into making it, but ended up having to destroy the piece because at that time I didn't have the knowledge or resource to pack and ship it. And this happens a lot to me in other residencies I did as well. A lot of times I don't have funding to ship the work back, and the work that I put into making the pieces end up having lost. I would rather not repeat this process of losing all the work that I did and not reaping what I sow, and Wally Grant has helped make this possible for me. I would rather ship the piece home, giving it a chance to be part of an interesting exhibition or opportunity to become part of somebody's meaningful collection. Because of the Wally grant that I received last year, I was able to create the pieces that I made at Pottery Northwest. One of the pieces I end up bringing it home with me on an airplane and showing it in my third solo exhibition in Myanmar. The rest of the pieces are stored at Barry Fishman's house, another example of the generous community support that I have received from Pottery Northwest community. I hope that in the next 2 years I'll have enough funding to ship the work back to Myanmar so that it can be exposed to the audience in Southeast Asia. In 2021 and 2022, I have a few solo and group exhibitions opportunity lined up, and I hope by then I would be able to share the work that I have created at Pottery Northwest to a broader international audience. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation. I hope you donate to Pottery Northwest fundraiser and help support the career of artists like myself. Stay safe during the pandemic. Have a good day. Bye.
Incredible. I really enjoyed watching those presentations. Thank you all, Jake and Anyuta and Ling and Soe Yu. Just brilliant. And now it's my pleasure to announce the 2020 Wally Grant recipients. Rihanna Lawson for supplies to complete art installation projects and equipment for photo documentation. Granite Kalimpong to complete a collaborative exhibition, Landscape Futures, and create a body of work that incorporates photographic documentation of ephemeral site-specific installations.
And last but certainly not least, Hanako O'Leary for a 6-month pilgrimage to Japan to study female shamanic folk traditions, family history, and sacred Shinto sites connected to the underworld.
Well, thank you all for joining us this evening and supporting Pottery Northwest and the work that we do. Over the past 10 years, we've given out over $70,000 to artists for these exciting projects. And I think it's so important for us to continue to be able to offer this grant at a time like this when finances are stretched thin for artists. That's who we support, and that's what we do here at Pottery Northwest. So consider making a meaningful gift to support opportunities for artists like these. We value gifts at all levels, from $20 to $20,000. The information to donate is at the bottom of your screen, so you can either do the text to give option at 202-858-1233, or you can visit our website at potterynorthwest.org. We have some great donation gifts this year, so anyone who gives at the $50 level and above can receive a t-shirt, and anyone who gives at the $500 level or above can get one of our coveted salad bowls. Unfortunately, we weren't able to hold salad bowl this year because of the gathering restrictions, but you can still take home a bowl if you'd like to donate at the $500 level. This campaign, Clay Lives On, will be running through the end of the year, so please help us reach our goal of $75,000. And thank you again for your support and for your solidarity. Clay lives here, and Clay lives on. Have a great night.